Shake it. What's up? It's Wednesday. Welcome to Mat Therapy. Okay, thank you. I'm Dawna Gonzalez.
Got a little overzealous.
I'll be your host today and every week. Becky Dominguez is my beautiful co-host. Hi, Bex. I like your shirt. It's very cute.
Thanks.
What's up, 10th Planet? To my right, I have our genius producer who makes us look and sound so good and professional.
He does our makeup too.
Hello, I do.
Well done.
That's
and
why
my
you
hair.
look so good.
And my hair. And today, our guest from the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club is our homie, Eric Medina. What up?
Woo-woo.
Hi, everybody.
Welcome.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you
Finally,
so
I
much
know we
for
talked
coming
about
on.
coming on a while back.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you. So catch everybody up real quick. Tell everybody what the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club is and why they should care.
The LA Jiu-Jitsu Club is it's a bed and breakfast located in the Valley, West Hills, and we cater to jiu-jitsu clientele. If you're coming in for a tournament or training, or you want to do like a traincation, you know, we're the spot for you. We have about 350 square feet of mat space.
Nice.
One room in the house is completely matted up. We have open mat, yoga, strength and conditioning there. We have an isolation tank and a pool as well. So we're all about, you know, training very hard and then recovering the right way.
You have
Nice.
an isolation tank?
Is like a
How
float
come I didn't
tank?
know about this?
Because you have isolation tanks too.
She
We
has
keep-
all of them.
We keep the isolation isolated.
It is very isolated. I don't remember seeing that.
So we have. Do you guys know Felicia?
Yeah.
So when the idea
One
started,
of the first American female black belts.
Yeah.
Ever.
That one?
and she is like one of my main training partners.
Nice.
And so she has her own flotation tank business, and it was at Big John's gym.
Mm-hmm.
And when they kind of closed off and parted ways, like she had nowhere to put it, so we inherited it.
Ooh.
And
nice.
all these little like hookups and like ideas that we've gotten from friends, like they really helped to build the jiu-jitsu club.
Mm-hmm.
So me and Joey, we used our VA loan because we're both veterans. We got the house, and
Thank you
then
for your service.
Well, thank you. So we had a little bachelor apartment right behind Jean Jacques. So we lived like within a 5-mile walk of Jean Jacques Machado's academy in Tarzana,
Mm-hmm.
and so that was life. Just like, hey, the academy hanging out, and then for my real career, I'm in hotels, and so I was doing the whole like, man, like,
How can you bring it all together?
yeah, like
So
the jiu-jitsu
that's what
way,
sparked
like
it, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you're working in a hotel, and then one day, you and Joey got high, and you were like, "Guess what? I got an idea."
More or less, I don't know if that's how, but I mean, we're just like, the day-to-day grind, it's like, giving 100% for something that's not yours. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like, how do I switch that up? Like, I want to do things for me,
Sure.
and, like, what are we good at?
Yeah.
Well, what's real quick? Well, like Joey, like bartends at like a swanky ass place. Like I work at a nice place. Like, we're service. Like we're in the service
Hospitality.
industry. Yeah. Like, we like to take care of people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, like, boom, let's flip it real quick. And then, the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club, like,
Nice.
that was born, And then Mark Munoz at Rain Training Center, he was going to move to another location. So we were able to get our mats at like a super discounted rate when we started looking around, and like, oh, like we have high-end MMA mats like Lyoto Machida, Anderson Silva, Dan Henderson, all these like high-level guys have trained on our mats. So it's
Wow.
like, oh, like we get that
Oh
too.
yeah, because they came from Rain. Gotcha. I'm like,
Yeah.
they're coming to the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club.
so any type of like skin infection, like, oh, we got this from like,
Lyoto.
Uh-huh.
That's so cool. So
Those are
you
nice mats
guys
you guys have.
Thank you.
created that's a bed and breakfast for jiu-jitsu people. How many people would you say come through on a monthly basis?
On a monthly basis, it varies, but we've been very fortunate that we've been sold out for a little bit.
Nice.
So yeah,
Nice.
so LA is a hotbed. We have Eddie's, we have Jean Jacques, we have Homelos, we have Cabrinhas, we have Malibu, like whatever you're here for, like and then we'll train with you
Sunshine
at the
and
house.
beaches.
Yeah.
And you guys throw seminars there. So do you have
There's a
a
pool in the
regular
house?
schedule of classes that happens like every day?
So we kind of have like Monday through Friday, we kind of have like a little bit of open mat from like, let's say 7 to 9 a.m. And that's kind of like for anybody like in the area wants to come in and get like a morning roll or something like that before the day begins. And also like me and Joey are kind of like, we're on like a sun and moon schedule where like I work overnights, and when I come in the morning, like I can run the bit. Where on the flip side, like Joey runs the nights,
Okay.
and like
Okay.
so he'll do dinner, I do breakfast type of deal,
Nice.
So
Do you cook for your guests?
yeah, well, we're a legit Airbnb, so B&B, so we take care of breakfast in the morning. We usually do like a whatever omelet, scrambled eggs, maybe a meat product or not. If you're, we're very like health conscious. Our girlfriends are vegetarians, so like there's very little meat in the house, but like the meat that we have, like it is like good.
Nice.
So that's like kind of one of the little things that like, oh, like we have to cook now. Like, oh, how do we cook? Like, oh, like we have YouTube on. Like we have like chef's hats. Like, okay, like a dozen messed up. Like one turned out great. Like, hey, like
Right, that's the one we'll serve.
Yeah.
The rest we'll eat.
It's a genius idea. I'm a big fan of the traincations. You remember I did a cruise a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And when this community, people don't want to stop doing jiu-jitsu just to go on vacation. I know that sounds silly, but when you do it, you get it. So you're like, well, if I'm going to go on vacation, I want to be able to do jiu-jitsu.
Where am I going to train?
Right. I think it's genius.
Or also like if you are here to compete, well, like we have mats, we have like a little electronic steamer, like,
Nice.
we'll train with you, and, you don't have to miss a beat. And a lot of cool things that have happened is like teams will come and rent out the house.
Yeah.
Oh, so you got your buddies and you got everything. You got your coaches, like,
Right.
You got your nutrition too. Like, okay, like,
Perfect.
we're in it to win it. Sometimes like, you gotta like the competition day or like the I'm coming in. We got guys from New York Rhode Island come and stay with us, and like, oh, like that's a big change, Got to get your schedule down. Got to train. Got to break a sweat over here a couple times. Like, okay, got 3 days to train. Like you stay focused. Sometimes like that's like the big thing.
And a lot of people don't like the feeling of being in a hotel either. They don't like that.
We're crunched up.
Yeah. Being
kinda,
you're still away from home, but at least it still feels like a home.
Yeah, definitely. And if you're with your team, you're with your guys, like,
and you're with people that are into the same thing as you, so it just kind of feels a little more homey and a little more.
How many
comforting.
rooms do you guys have?
we offer 4 rooms.
Okay. And can you do double occupancy? Like, let's say Becky and I wanted to go on a traincation. We're like, we don't really need 2 separate rooms. We can share a room and cut the cost.
Yeah, we have rooms available with 2 beds, and we'd set you guys up, and we just let us know. And then we have males and females restrooms in there.
That's true.
Nice.
Yeah. We have a large amount of women that come through, so we have to be conscious of that as well.
You guys thought of everything.
No, like along the process, like, geez, like when you
learn as you go.
You like how much of anything is like failure, and a lot of it is like, oh, like we're dummies, like we didn't think of that, like, but now we're like, okay, cool, write it down, like put a post-it on it, like who's got it, like, it helps to have 2 people too, because God, work is a lot of work, and you get stressed out. I'm like, hey, Joey, like, here's, I got to take a breath, or like,
especially with you 2 being on different schedules seems to be nice.
Yeah, definitely. Like a lot of times it's like, oh, like let's say like I grab my gi, like I'm going to practice. I need to get out of here, you know, like, and then I'll come back like, oh, like let me figure this out real quick.
Well, because you don't get to escape. Do you live there?
Yeah, we live there as well.
Okay, so you don't get to escape it. You have a job where you have to go and earn money.
Yeah.
And then you have this labor of love that you are creating. But it's also a business, so you don't really ever get to escape it, even though you kind of don't want to. It's jiu-jitsu, but it's still a business.
You have your moments, I'm sure.
But like having like the pool and like your friends. See, a lot of times my friends are there too. Like like if I'm not there, like who's holding down the house? Oh, well, we got like Nico or Octavio, like all these other guys that like they we have a lot of friends. Like it's kind of like a hangout too, like essentially a club.
Yeah.
So like. Oh, after a tough day, like, oh, I got like my buddies, like, oh, like maybe not, like,
you guys are like a biker gang, but jiu-jitsu.
Kind of like it, it's a little Sons of Anarchy over here. But sometimes we do missions and things like that. But for the most part, it's definitely like a little, I don't know.
Is it hard to skip a day of training? Like you probably can't just take a day off.
I get upset with myself. Like, okay, what did I do in my day where I wasn't allowed to train today? It's like, oh, did I waste a day? Like, what did I do? Like, oh, I can't. I have.
How do I fix this so it never happens again?
I have no excuse. Like Joey, like let's train. And so that it definitely helps to be disciplined and keep yourself accountable for the days that you chose not to train for whatever reason. Sometimes things happen up.
Sometimes you just need a break.
I could see this going. Like if you wanted to become real estate moguls, like every city, because honestly,
I was gonna ask that.
Oh, we gotta be quiet like that.
I was gonna. Has it inspired? Have you heard of like any inspiration from other like places? Anybody that's done something similar, like in other cities?
A couple places now, that are coming up, and we're talking with a Casey Housestead a little bit about, you know.
Oh, in Vegas. He
Franchising.
totally needs that in Vegas.
Because, you
so
know,
many people going
we also trained under Casey, and, like, you know, we're very friendly with the 10 Planet crew and stuff, you know, and it would make sense to make an easy place for us to, you know, LA and Vegas. Like, let's
Vegas
make it work.
makes sense. That was going to be my question. Are you guys going to expand to other cities?
Well, you know, we're working on it right now, but there's a lot of things that, like, what's love of the game? It's your place, you know, like, geez, like, there's so many things out there, like, well, I want to see my little thing succeed, and, you know, like, we get a kick out of, like, oh, the flowers we planted, they're blooming, like, oh, dang, like, dude, that was 3 months, like, oh, my gosh, like, it works, you know, and me and Bonnie, we planted sunflowers, and we had 3 beautiful sunflowers, and, you know, they didn't look like they were going to make it, but they made it, and then a squirrel came and jacked them all, like, and it's like, oh, yeah, and it's like, oh, dang, like, the heartbreak.
I'm loving this image because, like, you hear this, it's a jiu-jitsu club, like, you go there and you train, bro, and then you guys are in the back planting, you guys are planting flowers, and you're like, look at my garden, hold on, I gotta go choke somebody out.
Look at my beautiful flower.
All right, that's like my moment of zen. It's like, okay, now it's time for war, like, you know, take your breaths, and, like, here we go.
Now, have you noticed your game level up since you are constantly surrounded by jiu-jitsu now?
Definitely. I feel like my
God, and you get to train with so many different people because there are constantly people coming through, and they're gonna. That's
true.
And they're probably wanting, like, okay, let's see what you got.
Essentially, yeah. So a lot of, like, you know, like, the best experiences we've had is, like, okay, like high level black belts like Samir Shanti or Kishinya will come in, and they'll stay with for the whole week, and it's like, well, those guys train hard. Like, we get hopped into the rotations, like,
and it's like getting a seminar with them.
Some of that stuff will rub off, you know, like, training with guys that are a higher level than you, like, dang, like, what an opportunity, you know. And like,
seriously,
they're trying to break a sweat too, so it's like, oh, like, you know, very, very cool to see what levels are out there, and then also, like, people that come in, like, what techniques they show you. And it's like, oh, well, this doesn't really fit to my game, but
now you know to look out for it.
But like, like, let me make it work. Like, let me put some time onto something that I don't really know. And like, oh, like, okay, I get it. Like, that's how you got to connect the dots. You got to, like, make stuff happen. Even if you don't see the connection right away, you know, you got to start trying to put it together.
That's jiu-jitsu. That's
true.
the philosophy of jiu-jitsu.
I see those barambolos sometimes. Right. I'm like, oh, that can happen right now.
I got one in a live roll.
I
got one in a live.
It never happens, but I see it. I'm like, oh,
it's like, why can somebody do that, but I can't?
I got it in a live roll, and it happened in slow motion in my head, but obviously in real time. And I was like, oh shit, I got a barambolo, and I did it. And the person that I was rolling with, it was a guy at one of the LA beach days, and like, he was like we both just had this moment of like, look at you, and I was like, look at me doing a barambolo. I don't think anything came of it, but after I was like,
that's cool.
Yeah, last year we couldn't do barambolos. Like, it's part of our warm-ups, and we were just like, Eddie would look at us like, what the fuck are you doing?
Well, isn't it cool that, like, you know, you could measure yourself in something, you know, and, like, every little milestone you accomplish, like, oh, that's like, hey, it's a step in the right direction, you know. Sometimes it's not like a physical, but it's a mental thing. Like, you know, like, why can't I do something? So maybe I'm doing it. There's something here. Like, I got to figure it out.
Got to do those reps. Reps. Like,
the mats do not lie.
The mats do not lie. The proof is totally in the pudding.
That is true.
No.
So tell us about, how did you get into jiu-jitsu? How did it all start for you?
I was always, like, a really like, indoors kid, kind of. Like, I always played with, like, Legos and video games. I was never, like, active. But my dad had wrestled in high school and college. And when I got to high school, he was like, all right, like, enough of this. Like, you got to go do something. I'm like, oh,
you got to go outside, Eric.
Yeah, I was like, no, like I was definitely, like, not about it. But I signed up for wrestling. Okay. And wrestling is very, like, you know, it's a grappling art. So one of the oldest martial arts there is. And I remember, like, my first year I got wrecked. But, like, my second year, like, I started to win. And I was like, oh, wait. Like, winning, like, yeah, like, this is where it's at. Like,
winning is awesome.
Like,
losing kind of sucks.
And it's like, oh, what do you have to do to win? Like, everything. You're like, oh. So then I loved it. Like, I believed in the sacrifice. I trained so hard. In my senior year, I was a city champion, and my dad is a city champion as well. So that was, like, a cool little thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's nice.
And but, like, you know, a lot of, like, the little things that, like, oh, what is, like, when you start to work hard, it's like, oh, like, I get it. Like, you know, like, that's the way to be.
Like, it clicks.
You know? So wrestled in high school. Right after high school, I joined the Marine Corps. And then a few years later, I dropped down to the reserves, and I wrestled at Moore Park College as well. And so I have a collegiate wrestling experience. And so when college was over, like, I was like, oh, dang, like, what's next? And, like, oh, jiu-jitsu. And I I looked online and I saw Jean Jacques Academy, and it was very close by, and I didn't know anything too much about,
You didn't know who
jiu-jitsu.
he was or anything?
No, I didn't know. And then I walked in, and I was a wrestler, and I remember my very first match was against a guy named Neil, who's a black belt now, and he was a purple belt at the time. And like he just kind of like he knocked me right over, and I twisted my ankle, and I was like, oh dang, like from the start, like oh like and it was good, like it was awesome, it was everything, and I signed up that day, and then I've been there since. It's been like 5 years.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
Only in jiu-jitsu do you go, oh, I twisted my ankle. It was good, though.
Yeah.
I liked it. I'm gonna keep
So,
coming.
you join for like, oh, like I wonder, like I'm a wrestler, like oh no, like this is different, like the pin is not the end, like there's some pain that comes after. You're like,
I'm really interested in how jiu-jitsu people find their teacher, instructor, master, whatever you want to call it.
Lee's
That's
still
a
on
good
his
question,
search.
yeah.
Lee's still
that's
on his-
so important.
He's looking
But
for his home.
It's I am, but it's interesting to me just how it's almost luck. Like there's just so many choices, and for Dawna to walk in on Eddie Bravo, and for you to just be like, oh well, I'm close to Jean Jacques, and now 5 years later, you're like, oh well, Jean Jacques is from one of the founding families of jiu-jitsu, and it's like a weird thing to just like stumble upon. Like
Right.
most people stumble upon like
It is
weird.
Some
I do
random
count
person.
that as like one of my luckiest things in life, that I was able to find my way there, because the academy is like we always call it like the Jedi Temple, like like it is like a place where you're like, oh, and this is like, what are we really learning here? Oh, we're learning like life skills. Like this is like leadership academy. Like forget the jiu-jitsu. Like this is how to carry yourself and
Yeah, it
have
does
balance in
change.
your life.
It changes who you are as a person. We've talked about that so many times. You deal with the world differently when you have this cool thing in your life, and we were talking about this before we were on air, is the community that comes along with jiu-jitsu, and how once you join this sport, it's like you automatically have a set of homies all over the world. Think about it. If any one of us were about to travel right now and we went on any number of forums, especially, and I can talk about this one specifically because I'm a part of it and I know it, if any of us were to go on the 10th Planet Forum or the 10th Planet Facebook page and be like, hey, what's up? I'm going to be in wherever. I'm going to be in South
name a
America.
city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in South. Somebody would definitely go, oh,
I know
I'm going to be
so-and-so,
there. I
or
know
I'll be
somebody
there. Yeah.
Or why don't you stop by the school? We'll take you out to dinner. We'll train a little bit. And boom, you have homies in that part of the world that you would have never had. And
very
jiu-jitsu
cool.
affords that. And it
Some
changes
people will
your
even
perspective
say,
on
come stay with
everything.
me. You need a place to stay?
Yeah.
I got a room, or I got a bed, or I got a couch, or... Yeah.
That's what you do
Yeah,
now.
so-
So,
so
have
now-
you made
so
friends
now-
all over the world because of this?
Oh, I'm
Definitely,
sure.
definitely. And like going back to like work, like, oh dude, like when cool people comes, it's not work anymore. It's like, oh, like these are my like the guys from Bethlehem. Whenever they come in, they rent out the house. We have Grace and
Grace
her parents
Gundrum.
there. Yeah. And man, like we love those guys, like, cause it's we're in it too. Like we want her to win. Like we're not messing around. Like we'll train every day there. Like we keep it disciplined, and like like, oh, it's game day. Like let's go Grace. Like we're all team Grace.
Right?
Like we
Nice.
don't.
Well, she is like a Terminator. So,
She's so funny though. Like we play video games with her and stuff too. Like like we get to see the other side. Like
You get to
like
see her
she's
personality.
she's a little kid too. Yeah.
Really? See, we don't get that. When
Yeah, we
she's
don't get-
training with us, she's like business.
Yeah.
What's her personality?
Hey, but
like?
isn't that like I'm not like that, but isn't maybe like that's the way to be? Like, oh,
Yeah.
this is I'm here to work, and it's like, oh dang, like, oh she gets it. She's so young.
Dude, she's on another level.
We're very like we should start getting like some autograph stuff, because she could be like the next
That's
Rhonda
true.
if she wanted
Seriously.
to do whatever she wanted to do, like whatever she wanted to do. So that focus is incredible.
Do you have a dream for what you want LA Jiu-Jitsu Club to be, or are you just kind of, are you and Joey like,
go with the flow kind of thing.
whatever it's going to be is going to be? Or are you like, I have a vision?
We try to control the flow a little bit, but it's going to do what it wants to do. I think the goal for me and Joey is to always have our own academy one day. And so
Nice.
this is kind of like a baby
The start
academy.
of it. Yeah.
But it's like, oh, how many things did we learn about business, about money, about bills, about insurance, and like liabilities, things like that? A lot. So it's like, okay, well, we're doing the groundwork now, and like when it's time to have our own academy, like
You'll have all this. You'll know how to
Yeah.
do all this.
and we're not rushing it. We still got time, and maybe that's the way to be. Like this is in jiu-jitsu, like how many things can you really rush? Like everything has to be cultivated. It's
Right.
like, and if you rush it, ooh, what happens when you rush it? What happens when you want too
Get
much?
tapped out.
Or like, but when you want, but when
Get
you
caught.
when you want too much, like, oh, I think I'm deserving of another belt or
Right.
more seniority, or I I want to be better than I am. It's like
that generally never goes well for anybody.
Yeah. You guys just had
but it's like, is that a character flaw or is that a lesson that you didn't learn? You know.
Good question.
So
yeah.
You guys just had your 1 year anniversary, right?
Yeah, we did. We did. So,
Congratulations.
it helps that we're around a year, because there was a time when hey, we have no money.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Money. You want us to pay these bills?
No,
we're just doing jiu-jitsu.
All right, day 2 and we're negative.
Right.
Put that away. We don't need to see that.
How has this affected? I know you guys both have girlfriends, so how has this affected your dating lives?
It's in the beginning it was kind of rough, and thankfully we have good women who help us out in spite of ourselves too. A lot of times what they said the first time was the right thing, but we're like, no, we don't, we don't listen.
Shut up, woman.
and then what happens?
Maybe you were right.
Yeah, you were right. We're idiots. I'm sorry.
I mean, that sounds like any relationship.
Yeah.
But
the married guy in the corner is like,
Just be quiet.
so I know your girlfriend Bonnie trains.
Yeah, she does.
Does Joey's girlfriend?
Juliana trains a little bit, but she's not she trains because we train other people at the house. But Bonnie, actually, she's a blue belt at Valley Mac under Marcelo De Pollo, who's a Jean Jacques black belt as well. And
you guys don't train at the same school?
No.
Hi, Bonnie.
We don't train at the same school. I don't know if that's a good or wrong thing, but it's cool to keep your spots separate. You know.
We've talked about that before. Yeah.
Definitely.
And we train together though. We train together me and her probably get an hour in a week just by ourselves. Just
Nice.
drilling and flowing.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
It is cool to have that as a couple. Jonathan and I drill together and train. We do train at the same academy, but we're also married. So
Good.
after we were married, I was like, okay, you can come to 10th Planet.
All right, I'll let you.
Okay.
You don't have to answer if it would make either of you uncomfortable, but we spoke with other people as part of a jiu-jitsu couple about sex jitsu.
Sex jitsu. What moves do you use?
Whatever I can get. That's after 2 kids. Though.
I don't know. What kind of
Eric's like,
questions.
I don't
It's
know.
like
how to answer that.
I'm out.
All I'm saying is lockdown is helpful. Sometimes.
There you go.
Just saying. Lockdown is helpful. 10th Planet, what's up? So what, besides being a blue belt, what else does Bonnie do? Give her a shout out.
She is she works at the Pasadena Humane Society.
Oh.
So if you she deals with adoptions and rescues and stuff like that. She's a very loving person.
Donna's
so it's a
new best
perfect
friend.
kind of like a on the up and up. You're trying to find an animal at home
Yes.
and taking care of them, and they have not just dogs and cats, but they actually do wildlife too. So she's gotten goats
snakes
in
and stuff, right?
snakes,
Yeah.
Falcons. They even have an alligator there.
What?
So,
I wanna
yeah.
get a
Who the hell brought an alligator to California?
I want a falcon.
It was an
wanna be a
alligator that
falconer.
I guess it was abused or something. It was abandoned and it's blind, so they keep it so.
Okay, alligators are not native to California. Some jackass brought that here.
But he's blind.
Yeah, I'm not saying not take care of it now.
I know.
Just how he got here is by jackassery.
So somebody needs to take
Maybe
care
he
of it.
was trying
Exactly.
Maybe
I'm
he
not
was
saying let's not take care of it. I'm just saying the person who brought it is a jackass. Anyway.
Oh,
Jiu-jitsu.
okay. Yeah.
So, you train under Jean Jacques.
Mm-hmm.
And are you a purple or a brown?
I'm a purple belt.
Yay.
I'm a little two-striper.
Nice.
Little two-striper.
Little two-striper. I have no idea how many stripes I would have. We don't have those.
We don't do stripes.
We
It's
go-
just a surprise when
I
we
know,
get
you
there
just-
one
boom,
day and he's
one
like,
day you're like,
"Oh."
hey, look at you.
we used to kind of have surprise belt promotions, but now we have a formal day, and so that's kind of cool too. You know, but we do still get the surprise promotions, and I
Yeah.
think ooh, which one is the best? I like them both,
Yeah, I think they're both cool. Eddie just this year implemented, or maybe it was starting last year, but he
he started it last year,
He does them twice a year now.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before that, forever, he would just
random.
walk in sometimes, and sometimes you'd know because he'd bring this big ass duffel bag with him, and everybody would be like, oh,
Bags here.
oh, the bag's here. Oh, what's up? And then he would stick it behind his
in his pants, behind his rack,
so
yeah.
you'd never see what color it was. And so then that was especially cool in the beginning, when I wasn't there for Denny's promotion, who was the very first black belt, but I was there for Sean Bollinger's black belt promotion, and he was the second one.
Okay.
And I was there for several of them afterwards, and every time he would pull it out and you would see the black and everyone would be like, oh,
Yes.
Because we didn't have any black belts at 10th Planet, and it was like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Somebody's about to get knighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so cool.
The day I got my blue belt, he just kept pulling black belts out. He promoted like 5 black belts that day, and he just kept pulling them out. We were just like,
Yeah, that was a super special night.
Yeah, because for a long time, 10 Planet did not have any black belts, right?
Now we have
You had
tons of
Denny.
them, yeah.
You had Denny for a while, and then maybe Sean, right?
Sean and then Einstein and
Einstein.
Gerald got theirs at the same time.
That first batch, then,
Jared?
right?
Oh, Jared.
Gerald.
Oh.
Gerald Streebent.
Oh. I don't know.
He would. They were 4 and 5, and then who was 6? Hold on, I'll think of it.
Was
I
it?
think Craig Bechamp.
What year was?
I've trained.
This-ish.
Craig trains with us too.
Yeah, I think he was our 5th, and then after that we got. He was our 6th. Gosh, who came after that? I actually have the list. I'm in charge of.
Oh, that's
keeping
right.
track
That's
of all
why.
the black belts at 10th Planet. No, I was there for most of them.
Yeah,
but that's why.
But that's why you know them off the top of your.
I'd have to look. But yeah, then we had just whoosh, like all the guys that did them, and now I think we've worked through all the old school guys. Yeah. I think I could be wrong.
I think Victor was the last one.
I think Victor might have been the last. Victor and Ziggy.
Yeah,
might have been the last old school guys, and now there's a new crop of guys coming up. That's going to be exciting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The cool thing about having the date set is how many people show up, because if you missed it, like several of my friends got promoted. I missed Amir Alam's black belt, which I was super bummed out about. I missed Lila getting her purple belt, super bummed out about that. I guess I should have been in training that night, but now that we know when people are going to be promoted, like
everyone
many people show up.
I think it's kind of cool.
Them.
Exactly. Like we have like a certain promotion day where it's all white geese, and that you can bring the friends and family and stuff like that, and get your picture taken, and but then it's also like, hey, there's a lot of, if you're gonna get something, if you're not, like don't jump the horse or anything like that.
You still never know until your name gets called, though.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's
like
true.
You could think that you're about to get promoted, but then you just never know. Eddie forgot to promote me to my blue when I got my blue. Back then I was the only girl, so I was always the one taking pictures and like, Dawna, do this. Okay, I'm still kind of that person. But I was always the one filming whenever anybody got. So he went through a whole line of promotions, and he was like, "All right," and like I'd been busting my ass for so long, and like it wasn't just me, but everybody was like, "You're gonna get your blue. You're right there. You're gonna get your blue." Like other coaches from other schools, and another promotion went by, and I was like, "Okay, I'll just keep working hard." And then Eddie came in the next day, and he goes, "Dawna, can you film this?" And I was like, "Oh, seriously?" And I started filming it, and then he was like, "It's you," and I was like, "Oh my god!"
Oh, awesome! Good for you.
Yeah.
Blue belt is the hump. It's one of the humps, I guess.
I think so. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know. Purple. How many people don't make it to blue belt?
So many.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the names that we started with, how many are in your still there? It's
right.
Like, oh shoot! Like
I feel like I went through my hump as a white belt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I went through my time of leaving and not training for a while and then coming back, but I was still a white belt. So
here's how I describe. I've only been through 2 levels so far, so I can't say anything beyond that. But
that's true.
I feel like blue is when you're like, I'm legit. I am legit in this sport. I'm legit in this community. Like I'm a part of it. Because as a white belt, you're just still a white belt, which is cool, and you're committed and you're there. But there's something legitimizing about getting that blue.
Mm-hmm.
And then purple, you get it, and you're like, oh shit, just got real. Like everybody's like, oh, what's up? You got your purple?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
Well, the expectation goes up.
Yeah. The worst ass whooping I got ever since I've done jiu-jitsu was the day after I got my purple belt. Like every single guy was like, let's go.
I thought you were the day before. Was it Lila maybe? Somebody had a story with like the day before they were just
I don't know about the day before, but
I got my ass whipped by like a 13-year-old and I felt like shit.
No, that was
and then
me the day after.
Oh,
like,
it was the day I thought it was the day before.
I got the worst ass kicking of my life. I almost gave my purple belt back. It was
here. I don't deserve
it.
This.
I'm pretty sure I left crying. Like I was like, damn, that was an ass kicking.
Those are the good days.
Yeah. Of course, you got to go back because you're like, all right, you're gonna. I'm never gonna train again. This sucks. I give Eddie back my purple belt.
So when you go home and you're like, all right, Manny,
yes.
Dexter, like I'm gonna get all these guys like you.
You're like, I'm gunning for you.
Your shit. Everyone's on your shit list.
What has been your high, your jiu-jitsu high? What are your moments that you're like, this is the best sport in the world? This is why I do what I do.
I've had just, I've really I've enjoyed competition and training. I had a lot of success, but also just just training quietly. Like I enjoy that. Like I don't get too crazy about anything. Like I kind of consider jiu-jitsu like when you start to get worked up, like oh man, like why am I getting worked up right now? Like where's my zero? I got to get back there. That's where I'm efficient. That's where like remove the emotion, remove the ego. Like like this is a game of chess. Like what am I? Like don't get too crazy. Yeah. But then that's the stuff you can't control either. That's what makes you feel alive. Yeah. And then that's like, oh, like what matches? Like, dang, I got a lot of matches like those when like I was lucky enough to be in the first EBI.
That's right.
I had gotten my purple belt, and Eddie was there. We had Metamoris camp during that time, and that's when Eddie trained at Jean Jacques every day, and then I was there too, and I was one of his main training partners, and we rolled sun up to sundown all the time, and being like a little blue belt who had a little success, like, oh dang, that like helped me out a lot, because like here's what the top echelon is, and okay, like that's where I get to measure myself, like
gauge yourself. Yeah.
this is achievable, but it takes time. And then now looking at like what he has to go through right now for his Metamoris camp, like Eddie got beat up every day in, day out.
Yeah. Like
Shark Tanked, swimming, nutrition, like two a days, and it's like, dang, like, oh, I get it, like the sacrifice, like the mats don't lie, like you have to put 100% in, and it's like, all right, cool, like I'm in too, like like let's do it,
sign me up, coach.
Sign me up. So that was a wonderful time, and I got my purple belt, and I got asked to do EBI, and I was like, of course. And then the first one, nobody knew what was going on, you know. But
Eddie's having a tournament.
But like what a fun experience. And like the first one had magic because it had so many fights where like people didn't know what was going on, but like nobody wanted to give up. Like no, it was to the death. And my very first opponent, his name was Alexis Aldinchin, and he was a brown belt at that time.
From Marcelo,
from Henzo,
right?
Henzo Gracie, Mexico. And Alexis is a beast. Like he just got his black belt. He's had matches with Meows. Like he's a total badass dude. And we went, the 10 minutes, and I think it was like we were even. Like nobody had anything on each other, but we were going 100 miles per hour, and and it was the 9-minute mark, and I was able to catch his back and transition to an armbar, and it was a slow armbar too, like one that was like coming, but it wasn't there, and then everybody's like, like all the crowd was going crazy, and I was like, dang, like why isn't this guy tapping? I'm doing everything right, and then he tapped. I was like, oh yeah, like that's it, like get me out of here, that was awesome.
Was that like a surreal moment? Like were you outside of yourself watching that?
Yeah, essentially yes, because they had the monitor there too, and I was like, oh shoot, like look, I have an armbar, like look, like it's like, oh, I have an armbar.
So you're watching yourself as you're doing it.
Yeah,
you're
like finish this thing.
You're like, let me flex my muscle.
You're like, look at that handsome devil with that armbar sunk in.
Negative. I was like, dang, this is my one chance
Smile
to finish
for the cameras.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That must have been a really cool feeling.
It was awesome, because what a crazy tournament it is now.
And it's
but
being
like
filmed and
number
everything.
one, and then okay, like I knocked off a brown belt, like elite level guy. Like my first match is a purple belt. Like, oh okay, like where are we in it? Like we're in it.
Yeah.
And I remember going back up top because we had like another layer where the pre-staging was fighting, like Boogie and Gio and all those guys who made it out of the first round, and I was there too. And it's like, hey, you weren't supposed to make it out of the first round. What are you doing over here? It's like, and then I fought Jeff Glover next.
Oh shit.
Yeah, right. But like, only because I won my first match.
Was that when he was in the Wolverine?
Yes,
costume?
it was.
I remember that.
And here's like a cool little thing is like, I had done private lessons with Jeff.
Oh really?
Yeah, he has he was living with Cade, and I would go do private lessons, and he taught me a lot, and he taught me the Dars, and it's one of my signature techniques. And when you're taking private lessons from a guy, and like like the jiu-jitsu community is very cool, where like you could take lessons with like you can't get a private lesson with Kobe Bryant. You can't do anything like that. But like, oh, like, hey, like, can you show me how to do this? Like, I was like, oh yeah, of course. Like, boom. And it's like, oh, then I have to fight you. It's like, oh wow, well that was never in the cards, But like, how funny it is, It's like, before our match, like he pulled me aside and he's like, hey, I'm very proud of you. Like, good job. And he knew we were gonna fight, and like we had a really, he could have wrecked me at any time, but like the match played itself out, and very cool thing. Like I think. Jeff's a really, like, all those guys in jiu-jitsu, like, who are on the upper level, like, they're all on the up and up.
Yeah. That's so cool. Mm-hmm. It is kind of special about our sport that you can do that you can go train with somebody. Do you think it affected you mentally, though? Like, would you have rather had a match against somebody that you had never trained with before, especially as in
Yeah,
like a student
definitely.
position.
You know, because not to say like you could get upset or angry or like rile yourself up, but like
Sure.
I don't know this person. You know, there's
Yeah.
like a little bit more like you're like, oh, it's easier to classify him as like the opponent, whereas like,
Right.
oh no, like this is my friend a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
like, oh, we know each other.
and it's
like,
somebody you've learned from. So there is something that happens when somebody teaches you is mentally they, not that you put them on a pedestal, but they taught you something. So even for a moment in time, they were
Like your superior.
they
in
were
a
your
sense.
not. That's a weird phrasing.
It
of
is, but
But do you know what I mean?
I
Like
understand,
they were,
no.
you were their student for at least that moment in time.
And I, you know, that is the truth, right? And then even when he took me aside, he was still like talking to me as a student. It's like, hey,
Right.
hey, like, you know,
That could have
good-
been
good-
his mental warfare.
well, a little bit, but like, what are the facts too? You know,
Yeah.
like, you know, because I still fought back too. Like,
For
you know,
sure.
this is like, okay, shake hands on, like, I still have a job to do too. Like,
Yeah.
you know, this is it goes both ways, and like jiu-jitsu teaches you too, like, hey, sometimes you're in a situation where like maybe the odds are stacked against you. Like, all right, well, we're already here. Like, you know, here we go.
Let's do this. Yeah. Let's figure a way out of it.
Yeah.
That's still really cool though.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Both.
Do you have that frame somewhere? The picture like of your hand raised at EBI? You
No,
should have that
I don't
frame.
have that. I don't have
Why
that.
not? That's cool.
I would do it.
One day, more stuff. You know, more stuff.
Put it
'cause
up online. I'll frame
I'm
it
still
for you.
competing. I'm still training hard. So you know, I'm still in it.
Little by
When he
little,
wins
step by step,
EBI.
you can change
Hey,
up.
that'd be awesome. You know,
There you go.
what a cool thing now that like, you know, all these fights are going on. You know,
Jiu-Jitsu's going legit. We're going mainstream.
it really is.
How cool is that?
How do you feel about the sub only versus points?
I don't know. Like, I enjoy sub only, but I like point tournaments too. You know,
What do you think the benefit is of each of them? Of the
I think
especially
like,
since you're involved in
Yeah.
in both sides.
so I think point tournaments force position, and you understand more of like control, whereas sub only you're more free.
right.
Maybe you like to play in a bad
More of the
in a
attacks.
bad position. Well, okay, well, hey, that bad position is that's your game. Like, you know, you're gonna get somebody there. You're not gonna be worried about points. So,
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, the vice versa for points is like, well, I need to know all these basic positions. You know, I need to know mount. I need to know back. I need to know side control, and I need to develop a way to get out and to get into these positions.
Right.
You know,
Personal preference. What would you rather compete in?
like a 10-minute sub only.
Okay.
Not like a 20-minute where guys are gonna stall, but like a 10-minute you could go hard, and if a guy wants to stall, you have enough in your gas tank to like, all right, like here I go, 100% offense because you're not doing anything. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
sometimes that works. You know, in the guy stalled the whole time. Now he's got like 10 minutes to work. You're like, hey,
Right.
hey, you dummy, like, you know,
Yeah,
like
you work the system, jerk.
yeah.
Gi or no gi?
You know, to me, like, I don't know. I don't really, I don't have like a preference. Like, there's a lot of things that I do in the gi that I can't do no gi, and I could do
No heel hooks.
no heel hooks. There's a lot of lapel chokes that I like to do. There's a lot of controls that I like to set up, and I feel like I'm very deadly from there. Like, I could get a lot of people from like a lot of things, but no gi I feel is it's like wrestling too. You know, like it's more like of a faster connection, and I feel like you can't just like kind of put up a wall and chill. Sometimes in the gi you can do that, which is part of the game, you know. But if you don't have that wall, you got to be like, okay, move for move, like here they come, like, you know,
Yeah.
don't let them advance too much, like try to control as much as you control, and because of that you have to stay more like in the zone, and I enjoy that too.
Cool.
You know?
Okay, this might be a stupid question. Go ahead
no
and
stupid question.
tweet me and tell me how dumb I am. You can't heel hook in the gi?
I believe at black belt you can, in certain tournaments, in certain rule sets.
Oh, you mean they're not allowed to heel hook in
Oh,
the
no,
gi?
you yeah.
Okay. I was like, what do you mean? The
Yeah,
gi
no,
stops you
the-
from doing a heel?
No, it doesn't stop you from doing
you,
it.
you definitely can, and you know, you could play a lot of the leg positions, but then like if we're gonna do a rule set, right, like IBJJF you cannot reap,
Right.
so then, you know,
Lame.
it's kind of like you still have to train that, because then what happens when you go to a no-gi tournament where there's a lot of reaping, you're like, hey, what are you doing? Like, oh no, the game continues. So it's not to, you know, I think there's a certain kind of like rule set, and then like an ignorance there,
Yeah.
whereas like, oh, this is all I need to know. And it's like, well, there's so much more out there that you need to know if you want to be a complete grappler. And then so like, oh well, no, I only want to know this. Like, good on you. Like there's so much to learn there too. Like I can't, you know.
Yeah, there's a million moves in jiu-jitsu, so if you were to only ever do the gi, it's not like you'd run out of things to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. But also, you know, if you have that mindset of like, oh, I'm only a gi guy, it's like, oh, what happens when you do no gi? Like, oh, I don't do no gi. What do you mean you don't do no gi? Like, come on, like
Especially this day and age. I feel like
sometimes
it's hard
people
to-
are like, oh no, I
Sorry,
want to do gi.
we
It's like,
only
okay,
do 10th
well,
Planet Jiu-Jitsu around
yeah.
here.
Are there schools that still? Are there schools out there that are still only doing gi?
I
Like
think
they-
yeah, and I think
I imagine little by little those are becoming
a little
less
bit,
and less.
a little bit. But if the instructor is old school and that's his philosophy,
Yeah.
then that's
I
the
mean,
way
we
the
can't
school will
talk.
be. Mhm.
Yeah.
When's the last time you saw somebody at 10th Planet put on a gi?
I'm not bashing it at all. If I was in a school that offered that, I imagine by now I would have tried it.
Well,
I imagine at some point I will still try it.
It's
I'm not going
kind
to go
of,
out and buy a gi though. They're kind of expensive to just try it once or twice though.
for me who I kind of do both, and like I don't really see too much of a division between them two, because like like at my school, like we'll start off in the gi and then we'll drop the jackets and then
Oh, really?
and that's just how it goes. Yeah,
That's
So
cool.
then-
Has Jean Jacques always been like that?
more or less. Yeah,
Okay,
some
that
days
makes
are
sense.
some days are strictly no gi. Some days are like, oh, we need the gi because this is the technique. It relies on the jacket and the control and things like that. But
How much of a badass is Jean Jacques?
he's Yoda, man. He
Ridiculous.
is awesome. He's
Did you call him?
I don't
Yoda?
know Yoda. I don't know if he
Yes, I know who that is.
he like
You just got the same smile on your face that Becky did when Tom DeBlas was on the phone. As soon as she brought it
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
but
true.
Tom also preaches like a positive like reinforcement for everything, and it's like, oh, Jean Jacques the same way, where he knows exactly what to say to you to get you to be your best self, and that's a reflection of him, because he knows he has to carry himself a certain way, and he's beyond reproach at all times. He's just like not a larger than life character, but like like a definition of like what a good person is. And because of that, then you know how you have to conduct yourself in a way, and then the academy is held to a standard.
Right.
Wait, I had a question, and now I can't remember what it was.
Jiu-jitsu.
Say something else,
Heel hooks.
and it'll come to me. Shit.
It's funny though, because like
Thank you.
like you see Jean Jacques and how he is very not stoic, but like a very like, how would you consider like a traditional martial artist? And you see Eddie, it's like, oh, like you could come from that, but you're still gonna be you. You
You're
could
still-
still you could
for
still
sure.
You're gonna become the person you're gonna become.
Eddie is definitely his own person. Oh, I remember. Did Jean Jacques corner you at EBI?
The first one, no, he was in a plane, and then when I touched down, like I sent him, I won my first match, and then I had my next match, and I sent my last match. He's like, oh, good job. And I was like, okay. But he cornered me for my second one.
Okay. That was EBI too, right?
EBI too, right? And I fought Rene Lopez, who's a black belt, and it went to overtime, and he was able to get me in arm lock from the rule set, and then that was another good match too. And I think who won that one?
Denny,
EBI too.
and Jean Jacques cornered him for one of his matches
Yes, he did.
too. I remember that.
And we have a lot of 10 Planet guys that come and train at the academy.
sure, yeah.
Like Denny's there a lot. All the guys from Bethlehem. People just drop in, and it's always.
Dropped in.
Eddie encourages it. Yeah.
And it's it's not a. Jean Jacques always says like, you guys are like from our branch,
Yeah.
like you would trace your lineage, and it's like, oh, that's a very legit lineage. Like don't knock, like that is a very as close to the tree as you could get.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have a question, Lee?
Sure.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no,
not
no.
making
You don't have to
ask,
make.
but
You don't have to make one up.
No, I was. It's very interesting with just going back to like. So Eddie is from Jean Jacques, and now you're opening up the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club. It's there's not a lot of other sports really. Like you don't really see like baseball clubs opening up. Like it's it's one of the only sports where people love it so much that they change their whole life and make it their business. Like it's supposed, well, on the surface it looks like another way to work out, and it is for a lot of people. But like you said, Bonnie goes to VMAC. The other guy at VMAC, John Budd, used to be an editor like me, and now he runs VMAC with Marcelo. So it's an interesting. People really love it.
Jiu-Jitsu kind of teaches you to take things that you're good at and move them in the direction that is going to be good for you. And it's kind of like I don't know, like one day they're going to do like a scan where like Jiu-Jitsu people, like, yeah, they learn things backwards, like, and because of that they know they learn things backwards, so they do things backwards.
Yeah.
And it's like, why make things hard on yourself? Get the good things that you build a base and like figure out what you can do, and then try to make it work. you know, and struggle. You know, that's the hard, you know,
You're gonna struggle regardless. So why not struggle with something that you enjoy?
Amen. Do you have people come and learn from you now? Like, do you have any students that come and take class with you?
Yeah, I do. Sometimes I do private lessons, and like I'll train with people, and you know, if you're coming in from like out of town and you want to like, you know, stay for a tournament, like, you know, I'll train with you and, you know, help you out and stuff. And a lot of times you'll get really good training because, like, you know, it's not like we're slouches or anything. So it's really fun, you know. Some people have been very surprised. Like, oh, like, wait a minute, you guys are good? Like, oh yeah, like we're good. Like, don't knock that. Like, we're trying to get this off the ground, but we train all the time. This is essentially a tool to help us get better. All those seminars, like, who do you think's learning that stuff? You know, I've had so many lessons from like all these big names, and like, oh, like, you know, tricks up my sleeve, you know, from like my B game, you know, because your A game is all the stuff you're good at, but the B game, like, this is the stuff that like you learn when stuff goes wrong, when like you're in that position, like, oh, I got something from here now, you know. I've done my time a little bit. I've practiced.
What are you obsessed with right now?
I'm not obsessed with like leg locks per se, but the position and recognizing them, you know, because I feel like knowing when the trouble comes, like, that's step one. You know, and like, dang, like, clearing the knee, like, clear the knee, but like, don't put the leg back over because he does it again to you, you know, like, oh, duh, I'm so stupid, like, don't put myself in danger, you know. But I guess that's like, you know, we got to learn the position first, you know, or I feel like you got to learn the position
and then work backwards from there.
Yeah, a little bit, you know, because if you could stop the heel hook from the get go, like, oh, then we don't have to worry about it
when you see it coming. Before it.
I remember the
some
first
positions
time.
are so bad, like, oh, like, you want me to get out of this? Like, okay, well,
I'm all knotted. My legs are all knotted up. How am I supposed to?
Yeah, I'm gonna tap right now.
The first time I felt honey hole, or the saddle, depending on what you're calling it. What's his name? Brian Debs from Texas. Put me in it like 4 times in a row, and I would watch him, and I was like, I still have no idea what you're doing. And he just kept
You're like, I'm trying to do things, but they're
like,
just trapped.
And now we work on it so much, but yeah, that first time I was like, no, hey, how did you do that again?
That's like, you know, but that's being a white belt, right? And it's like, oh, like, yeah, we got to put the white belt on sometimes too to learn again, you know, like, we don't know everything, and you know, jiu-jitsu, like, how do we know? So people showed us, like, oh, duh, like, okay, you know, we're not, you know, this is not something that we do on our own. It's, you know, we have people that help us, and you know, the business, we've had so many people that help us and show us cool stuff, and, you know, we're really grateful for that, and you know, we got to keep it going, keep it forward, you know, essentially.
Well, speaking of paying it forward, we had Ruben Alvarez on last week, who's a blue belt. Sorry, he's a black belt. He's not a blue belt. He's a black belt under Tom DeBlas, and he's also going into the police academy. And so we don't need to get into this whole conversation, but we did talk a lot last week about how it would help law enforcement to be able to train in jiu-jitsu. And, you know, somebody with your background, you were a Marine, and now you have all this jiu-jitsu training. What do you think of us in the community starting a movement to try and get more police officers training with us?
So one of the cool things about Jean Jacques is we do have a lot of law enforcement there. I'd say probably about like 30% of the clientele. Really? You know, DEA.
That's cool.
Oh yeah, we have all sorts
awesome.
of marshals, and then you know, the grommet of things, like a lot of LAPD and such. Not, you know, we also have Hell's Angels there too. Like, we have like both
really?
sides. Yeah, we have
That's
like
cool.
we have like all sides. We you know, it is like,
everybody's
you know,
got to protect themselves. Right?
It is the light and the dark side. Like, you know, we get trained in both there.
I was gonna say, what do the marijuana enthusiasts think about the DEA agents?
It's legal.
You know what? Remember
They
we
have
were
their
having
medical card.
We you know, everything's taken lightly there, but I remember when we had like the I don't know, they weren't riots, but people were protesting something, and then we had some guys that were protesting there, and we had some of the cops that were there too, and then we at 6 o'clock class, you're like, all right, like, you two fight, like, you know, like just settle it right now, you know.
Well, I mean, I think actually everybody doing jiu-jitsu could create and open the door for conversations with people that you might otherwise not be in contact with. And it could open those doors for where else are you going to have Hells Angels and DEA agents hanging out when they're not opposing each other in a situation? And you could make the argument that the Hells Angels people are probably a lot more peaceful and less apt to like start fights on the streets.
Or I would also like, you know, like who is Big Brother there, you know, like who looks out for who, and it's like, oh, like, I get it, like, you know, if anything bad happens, like, okay, like, we know that we have help or something like that, you know. And so
on either side.
I think
side.
jiu-jitsu
From
could
either
change the
side.
world. We need to get everybody doing it.
It's essentially, there needs to be more of a dialogue between people.
Amen.
And, but I understand it too, like when force is used, because like sometimes you stumble across a situation and like, police officers are not counselors. They're not, don't ask them to do things that are not within their job, because this is a social problem, and, if we're going to have somebody, give somebody a weapon and then, like, hey, this is your training, and all of a sudden they're in a situation where like, oh, I wasn't trained to do anything else. Like, I'm going to get my gun out. We'll say, hey,
Well, let's give them the proper training.
we
Let's
need to give
not
them the
just
proper
excuse
training, and with the training comes
any-
the mindset too and stuff, of, humility and things like that. We could always make, everybody likes, oh, like they got a badge power trip. It's like, hey, that power comes with a price, like don't think like, you could make such decisions, like, where in your life have you had to make such snap decisions, like, to be,
Right.
Or seen some of the
But
things that they
taking
have
on
to
those-
see.
or be in danger,
taking on those responsibilities. I mean, I think Ruben really spoke on it. Like, with great power comes great responsibility.
It's
So
true.
if you want that power, then you have to take the responsibility and take the actions for behaving responsibly
Yeah.
in those situations.
Yeah.
That's true. And,
It's both sides.
what a thing though, like, the world is crazy right now, and
Yeah.
I don't really, force, now we know that force might not be the right way,
For sure.
right? And then that's what comes next, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, that's a jiu-jitsu lesson right there.
But
Force versus balance.
but then also, like, why do we train
There's a place
jiu-jitsu?
called force balance.
I know there's a school called Force Balance, isn't there?
But we
Yeah.
also, we also train jiu-jitsu because, like, we know some bad stuff might happen too.
For
It's like,
sure.
okay, well, at least I have that check in the box, and martial arts in general, and like confidence, and like,
Oh yeah, that's why I have a women's self-defense program. I hope none of my ladies ever have to use it, but I certainly.
I was gonna say I've never had to test
Yeah.
my skills yet. I do think about it, like what would I do if I was in this situation?
Yeah,
That's
I
although
worry-
there was a situation like a month ago where I was like, I'm gonna have to fucking do something right now.
Really?
Yeah,
What happened?
some drunk guy came into work, like walked in and started screaming.
Becky's all taking off her shoes. I got it.
Well, he was like pushing his way through the door. I was like, "Sir, you have to leave. Sir, you have to leave." And he was like, "Fuck the system," and like that's what he was saying.
You're like,
So-
fuck the
I can
system.
smell
Come
the
into
beer.
the float tank. This is where you.
I
this is
can
definitely where you
smell
want to
the
protest.
beer on him, and I
Protest.
was like, "Oh God!" And he was just like, he still kept walking in, and I'm like, "You need to back off." And I didn't want to put my hands because I thought if I like, touch him on the shoulder to like turn him around and go, I felt like he was gonna turn around and start swinging, and I'm like, "Oh, what am I gonna do?"
But at least
I don't want to actually I don't want to actually test my skills, but
What were you gonna do? Single leg, double leg?
probably choke.
right away, right?
My first thought is to try and choke.
Yeah,
him.
you should.
Alright.
You should. That should be your first thing,
Yeah.
and then good for you to. Like,
Yeah, I don't want to take it to the ground if I can just.
All right.
He was about my height, so I can sink
Gotcha.
in that choke.
Do you ever, when I started to get good at jiu-jitsu, whatever that means, maybe I was like midway through my blue belt, I remember going places and like, have you guys ever done this? You've been somewhere in public and you've been like, I could totally choke that person out. I could take that guy.
in
You're
the
bigger than me, but I could.
in the Marines, I would like take my squad, or like, just like, okay, like, one at a time, and just like, hey, who's daddy? Like, because I can, like, and just wreck
Wait,
'em
you
all.
played a game called Who's Daddy?
Oh yeah, that was like, well, because to be like, a leader in anything, like, you have to assert dominance, right? Essentially, right?
Alpha dog.
So alpha dog, and then what's more alpha? Like, oh, like, hey, I'm in charge because
Tapping somebody out.
because I can beat all you guys up. Now do what I say. But from essentially like, oh, this is the way, like, follow me.
Yeah. For sure.
I don't know.
Lead with authority and
daddy?
good leadership. Who's daddy?
But hey, like, we get that from the top too, essentially, like, hey, the and you guys do too. Like, one of the cool things about jiu-jitsu is you can't be a fake, and it's like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of people in the world that like are fakes, unfortunately, and it's
Yeah.
a weird
Totally.
thing.
Well, it comes out and then, you can't deny it. You
Yeah.
can talk all you want, but once you hit the mat,
Once you hit the mats, yeah, it's done.
there's what it is.
Yeah.
So what
know.
else?
So
Bets?
what happened to your arm? What's going on?
Oh,
over
I
there?
just my buddy over here just popped my arm today, so I got my
so sweet. That's what
my ice my ice.
That's what we do
brace.
to our friends.
Tell us about the ice. Tell us about the ice pack. That's an unusual looking ice pack. Would you like to talk about it?
Well, yeah, talk about it.
Well, you're not on the mic, so that
Okay,
would
so-
probably not be very effective.
right.
So this is from Next Gen Therapeutics. It's a very cool heat and cold pad. So you could
love that
microwave
does
it up,
both.
and you could also toss it in the freezer.
Okay.
And if you guys train a lot like we do. I guess, how much of your training is now post recovery,
Right.
recovering, and ice baths, cold showers, like those are key. But also like your trouble spots, like these are perfect.
Yeah.
Because I popped my elbow and like I put this guy on right after
could use
training,
that
and I
last year.
feel great.
Yeah.
I feel like I have 100% strength, and we also have these cool little finger sleeves too.
Yeah.
That look at my fingers, are all jacked up, but I put those right inside,
key.
and then instant recovery.
Like your own little cryo, like
Cryo, yeah, definitely.
cryotherapy on. Where's that neck one? Do you have that over there?
Oh, the neck one's awesome.
This is
Yeah,
like the
check this
greatest
bag
thing
out.
ever.
This
I want
is-
to look at this.
Booyah. Guillotine Day.
They're all
Darce Day.
made
Get
with like
one.
high-end products.
Everyone needs
Protect
this.
yourself. I don't know. Like, have you guys ever been like really hurt or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do jujitsu.
Hello.
But like, so what is your most serious injury?
I was out. I got Lila Smaja, my training partner, had me in lockdown, and we were both transitioning, and she went one way and I went the other way, but she still kept the lockdown, and my knee just popped
Yeah,
out, and
yeah.
it was hideous. And I was out for a couple months.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I needed this last year.
And then I have a reoccurring hip back thing that just, I'm an old lady and it fucking
But they're
sucks.
gonna come, injuries.
Yeah.
Injuries are gonna come. So like preventive maintenance is gonna be key, and
For
like
sure.
stretching and taking care of everything. I think that's like where like our little niche is gonna come in essentially, like
So people
because we get to see like, oh, like you're an old black belt, like, oh, why do you walk so funny? Because I'm an old black belt, like it's like
So
oh.
people are going to be able to find all of these products at the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club.
Yeah, we're gonna start carrying them. If you want to come train, and usually we've had a lot of fun training. We'll do like open mats and get like 20 people together and kill each other for like 2 hours, and then right afterwards we usually do like a polar bear plunge. Yeah, the pool's super cold sometimes, so like
Fun.
we go in there and that's your ice bath like right after
Nice.
training, and it feels great.
That's
like
smart.
the initial shock, like
Sure,
but,
that sucks.
but sometimes we get like a group together and like, all right, everybody stands around the pool and like, all right, 1 2 3, and then it's like, all right, not too bad when we all do it together, but it like, like, everybody's like, oh, so that's really fun too. And then we'll have like a barbecue after and just hang out, chill out. It's essentially like a we're like a weird little thing, still figuring out what we are, but it's just a hangout. Just come chill out, roll out with us. Trade techniques. Get a
Nice.
sweat on.
All right.
Maybe we can
like
do
it.
maybe we'll have to do like a collaboration one day.
We
and
should.
do
Dude,
That'd
we
be
should
therapy
shoot the
and
podcast
open
or shoot
mat.
the podcast from there one
That'd
day.
be fun.
We have
Yeah.
Wi-Fi set
Yeah,
up.
let's do it.
Do an open mat.
We do
out
coffee.
there.
We'll make
Do
you guys
it.
breakfast. Have
Oh,
a night.
yeah, let's do it. Can have a slumber party.
I like it. I like it.
You guys will have dogs? We can bring dogs.
Yeah, bring your dogs. We don't have any animals at the house. Like I kind of
would
do
make sense.
want one, but like,
Gotta
my-
get a hypoallergenic and a
Yeah,
nice dog that's
with
friendly
every-
towards people and blah,
With
blah, blah.
everyone
Yeah,
coming in
exactly,
and out.
you
you have
know.
to-
I bet you Bonnie could find you one.
yeah, she definitely,
I'm sure.
but she won't give me one. She knows I can't. Like, she does.
Hey, Bex, you got any shout outs?
I do. Andre Newman Jr., who just found us on YouTube recently. Thanks for tuning in and
Andre.
watching. Our girl Evie Morales. Thanks
She
for
was
coming
part
out to
of
the.
the Women's Self Defense
I
program.
know from your first class.
Yeah, she was part of the first one.
Oh, one of the first.
And now she's training full time.
nice.
She's a little badass. We love her.
And she came to
Hi, Evie.
the beach party a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. So, Ray Williams, shout out to you. Thanks for the love and support.
Yes.
And Michael Polnick. Did I say that right? You think?
He has a doctorate of bioethics.
Oh, no big deal.
He's very interesting.
Sounds
Been
l-
conversing with him on Facebook, and I'm like, you sound very smart, sir.
He sounds smart.
Yes, and he has a podcast. I can't remember the name of it, but he's a bioethics doctor. So look him up, Michael
Bioethics.
Polnick.
Polnick.
Yep.
Polnick.
Also, our Women Crushed Wednesday today is Aaliyah Garcia Valadez. She tagged us on her Instagram page, and I haven't talked to her yet, so I don't have a lot of information to give on her, but she's been training for about 6 months. She's a white belt, and she's pushing through it, and we see you, girl, and you keep pushing, and you keep working your ass off, and we're
Don't
super
stop.
proud
Don't stop.
that you are repping the sport.
Get it.
Thanks for listening to Matt Therapy, and keep doing your shit, girl.
And very soon,
What?
we have a theme song coming.
Ooh, thanks,
We
Instagram.
have a theme song.
Big shout out to Michael Klein, One by One podcast.
Yep.
What up,
Yep.
Michael Klein? Thanks.
Thank you so much
Gonna
for
have-
that. Can't wait.
A song. But we'll still do the maraca. Don't trip.
Oh yeah. Duh.
So if everybody wants to find you and follow the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club and follow you and all of your adventures in Jiu-Jitsu, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at the Los Angeles Jiu-Jitsu Club. Me and Joey both run the account, so you know, we take a lot of behind-the-scene pictures of events and stuff. Like we work for Dream Jiu-Jitsu as well. You know, we kind of like we're like background players and like you know like helping set up stuff and do like a lot of things. And like we're fortunate to work for EBI now, and so
Nice.
you know, it's like follow us for like any like hidden like behind-the-scenes
Little
nonsense.
gems,
You know,
little-
like a little TMZ Jiu-Jitsu thing. You know, my Instagram handle is Darce Knight. You know, follow Jean Jacques Machado, my master. As follow Eddie. You know, November 13th, I have the Taps for Taps tournament coming up. That's going to be in Newaza.
November 13th?
August 13th.
August 13th. I'm sorry, August 13th.
Yep.
Training
I just-
already.
I
Training
ju-
for the long
Right.
for next year's.
I
Like, I'm gonna
just-
start training now.
I just got my ticket today.
Okay, cool. So
Nice.
make sure you get your tickets because I think they're almost out.
Yeah.
They are doing like you know, the space is limited, and you know, make sure you get one early. So that's gonna be fun. That is a 16-man and a 185 and under.
Yep.
So I'll be one of the smaller guys. So, but I've been training pretty good for a little bit now. I feel ready. Right after that, the next week I have a super fight in Bakersfield.
Ooh, nice.
I'm not too sure if that's gi or no gi. We'll see. Hey, that's
Just show up with both of them and go tell me what to put on.
But
What do I wear?
but you like I always cause like okay like do I wear armor or am I like
Armor.
naked today? And then
Nice.
after that, I have Masters Seniors World in Vegas, and then that'll be in the gi, and I'm ready for that one. Like, you know, just trying to peak at the right times, but stay like focused and train.
Very
Cool.
nice. Do you do any weight cutting or anything for?
I will
Obviously not for the taps for taps.
not for the taps, but depending on what the weight class is, because I walk around like 140, and in the gi it's 140
You
1.5.
basically weigh the same
So-
thing right now.
Yeah. Me too.
So I got to diet a little bit.
I've been on the Disgracie diet for the last week, so yeah, we're about the same weight right now, and I want to do sub fighter next month. So I've already
Sub
been,
fighters
like-
are good ones. I like sub fighters. Sub
Yeah.
fighters, you just fight all day. You know,
Yeah.
you get
Yeah.
a really matches.
So I gotta drop to 130 for that. So I gotta start working on that.
All right.
Well, hey, we do, we do strength and conditioning at the house. Like, we run.
Guys,
we
do it all.
We do swimming and stuff. Like, all the things that like suck. Like, we have to
hate
do.
running.
And
For sure.
I hate running too. But we
My
gotta,
knees also hate it though too.
then get in the pool. That's the best
Yeah.
thing we could do. Like,
Run and jump in the pool.
So for all your jiu-jitsu and strength and conditioning and Airbnb needs,
Contact the LA Jiu-Jitsu
Jiu-Jitsu
Club.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Where do
Beckford?
they contact you?
You could contact us on Instagram at the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club, on Facebook at the LA Jiu-Jitsu Club, and you could send us an email at
LAJJclub@gmail.
And you could also look us up on Airbnb too. But if you want to do reservations by Airbnb, like that's like a price for everybody.
Sure.
You know,
Nice.
but if you want like the mat therapy,
Oh, mat therapy discount.
discount code,
Discount.
yeah, just send us an email and we'll work with you. And we have 4 rooms available. We usually have 2 beds in the room, and like if you want the team, like we've had teams of like 10 people show up and sleep on the
Make-
mats.
make it
and,
work.
Nice.
We definitely.
comfortable.
Those couches you have are pretty comfortable too.
Oh, thank you. And one of the cool things about like the business is like, we put it right back in,
Right.
because
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, what do we need? And it's like, oh, we need this. Like, okay, cool. Like next, like
Yeah.
and
Just to better it.
Well,
to make it
support.
better.
Yeah, it's support our community.
But we need people, so
Yeah.
yeah, definitely come and
Come stay with them.
If you're coming into
If you're
town.
in LA. Do
Yeah,
it. Do
come
it.
Show.
Beckford. Shut up. I'm going to keep calling you that.
BeckyDominguez.com. You can find all my
All the
Instagram, Facebooks.
Follow your journey to sub
What's the other one? Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Follow my 10-pound weight loss.
Do it.
that I can- Damn weight.
Lee Syatt, if somebody wants to start a podcast and they need consulting,
They can go to leesyatt.com, or Lee Syatt Consulting is up. It's
Oh.
not. It's not fully. This is the light launch. This is the
light launch.
What restaurants call it? A soft opening.
soft
Yeah.
opening.
This is a soft opening, but it's leesyattconsulting.com. That's a little bit more for the professional end. It's like if you want like flying Jew stuff or any of that, that's at leesyatt.com.
The Flying Jew.
But if
So if you're a stoner, you go to Lisa.
Yeah, if you're a stoner,
it's
go
too
to-
much to add consulting to the end of it.
it's too much, and then I wanted a website
fall
that my
asleep
mom could look
before.
at and not get mad at me. So leesyattconsulting.com.
Nice. You can go to donnagonzalez.com and find all my things there.
All the things.
I promise to update it soon. I haven't updated in a couple of weeks, but I promise to
What about Matt
update
Therapy
it
Apparel?
this week. Matt Therapy Apparel will be up and running soon with events and things. And hey, thanks. Next Gen Therapeutics. Get your therapeutic stuff on. And we'll see you guys next week with UFC's very own Alan Juban.
Oh,
Tune in. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, bitches.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Eric, thank you so much.